Hey guys, it's your girl Eda, also known as the CEO Paralegal, author, legal consultant, legal educator, and of course, your host of the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. Join in on the fun by downloading, subscribing, and sharing our content. If you would like to take your support further, we now have Let's Talk Paralegal podcast subscription boxes. So, what are you waiting for? Hit pause, share, and subscribe now. In this episode, I get to speak with Samantha Brillantino, a remarkable legal professional who has not let a learning disability stand in the way of her success. Samantha will share her journey, highlighting the strategies and mindset that have helped her overcome challenges and thrive in her career. Get ready to be inspired by her story and learn how resilience and determination can lead you to an incredible achievement in our legal industry. Listen in for more. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. I'm your host, Eda Rosa, and today I have the lovely Samantha with a very interesting take on how we should be navigating through our legal career and highlighting something that's really important. And we'll get into it in a second. But first, I want you to meet Samantha, the person, and then we'll get into it. So, Samantha, if you want to introduce yourself, give a little take to the audience about you and pretty much your story and what led you to this moment right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Samantha Brillantino. I am located in northern New Jersey. I currently work as a legal specialist for regulatory and litigation at Becton Dickinson and Company. It's one of the world's largest medical device companies in the world. And I'm here just to tell my story. Besides being a paralegal, I actually have a learned disability. I was diagnosed since kindergarten, and the diagnosis is called cumulative impairment, which means that I have issues obtaining information, as well as I actually have a very low IQ and math. And usually when you have a learned disability, usually someone has a low IQ in one specific subject. So this disability never goes away. There are services that I have got as I've gotten older. I was in speech therapy. I always had an aide in my classes. I also was placed in small classes as well with other kids who had disabilities as well. And I just learned as I go what works best for me. I'm still doing that in my career today, especially as a legal specialist. And just background real quickly is that I want to go to college. I always want to go to four-year college and pursue that. And when I was a senior in high school, I was in an EAP meeting with my mom and other teachers and staff alike. And pretty much they told me that either I wasn't going to be accepted into college, or that I wasn't going to graduate in college due to what they saw in my test skills. And I obviously didn't listen to them. I pursued a four-year degree college, and then after that I actually went back to school to receive my paralegal certificate that's ABA approved. And I tell my story because I want other people who have disabilities to know that you should keep pushing and you should pursue what you think is best. Yes, you have experts to tell you what they think you should and shouldn't do, but at the end of the day, you know yourself best, and you should never give up. And again, I would never think to be working at one of the biggest medical device companies in the world as a paralegal, which is crazy to me. And I still want to keep doing more. I want to learn more still as a paralegal, and anyone that has a disability or not should keep pursuing their dreams and what you want to do, and just go from there. And if something doesn't work for you, then find another path to follow. Just you should never give up your hopes and dreams.
I love that. And I think that's what the Limitless paralegal branch of our company, signifies, right? It's really, really not making the limitations. For those of us that grew up in the 80s, we were very limited when it came to the legal industry. Everybody thought that you needed the law degree in order to grow and hit a certain bracket, whether it's through income or career or statute or whatever it is. And, some of us live life with no disability, some of us with no hindering. And that's great. Kudos to them and, congratulations. But I think sometimes that kind of provides a certain bias or a certain ignorance to others, right? Because that is not the normal. Everybody has something. Everybody struggles with something, whether it's mental health, whether it's a physical or unphysical, I call it, disability, whether it's impairment, right? Any type of impairment, whether you're multilingual and English is not your first language, whether you didn't grow up in this country and this country is not your first country. There's a lot of obstacles that all of us can resonate with throughout this conversation, which is why I'm providing these examples so that people can kind of get on the same playing field with us and really follow this conversation for those that do live in that beautiful, blissful world. But let's talk about that. So, you found out about this, you said in kindergarten. And so provide our audience kind of a roadmap. What have you been utilizing? What tools, what tactics, what tips and tricks have you found along the way that could possibly be helpful to someone either with a similar disability or someone that can resonate with the story?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, my parents were always supportive. I think that's number one key, especially when I was younger. They were always attending my meetings, listen to teachers' advice, just to help what they thought could help me out in my classes and my learning skills as I got older. But currently now, what I've been doing is I'm first off transparent with my managers or anyone who I'm working with, especially an attorney or attorneys, that, hey, I have this disability, you have to slow down a little bit. I always take notes. I mean, regardless, any paralegal should take notes during a meeting. But sometimes an attorney, they could talk really fast, and sometimes I'm having issues following what they're saying. So I do have to be transparent with them and just say, hey, just slow down for a second. Also, just I'm just learning listening skills, communication skills, I'm learning still, writing skills, that's a huge one, especially when I'm taking notes. And just again, I just think just being transparent with whoever you're talking to and just going from there and just taking your time. It's, yes, I know things are urgent, I get that, but you rather take your time than rushing something and messing up. Because for me, I don't do well with being rushed and being on the spot. I that doesn't work for me, and I know I'm gonna mess up. And I again, I'm honest with my manager and or attorneys that I work with, just to, hey, just give me a few minutes. Let's I'm taking my just taking my time with this. Just bear with me. Than me messing up, obviously.
I love that. I love that. I love that you're just very transparent and open with the managers, which is something that we can all take note of, right? Sometimes we feel like the expectation of being the perfectionist and the type A that has so long been lived for legal professionals in general, because that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be detail oriented and dot every I and cross every T. And yes, of course, quality over quantity, but with certain things. So my favorite saying that I actually made up one day out of frustration was, your urgency is not my emergency. So your lack of planning was not all of a sudden my fire to extinguish. If you would have brought me on earlier, if we would have been proactive versus reactive, there's plenty of ways that we could have prevented this. Now, of course, as legal professionals, we understand they are legitimately real emergencies, emergency hearings, emergency situations, whether it's a death of our client, whether it's, something in the party, the expert wasn't able to make it, so we have to reschedule. Absolutely, there are, quote unquote emergencies, and we can take those on as we go. But the reality is, if you really evaluate the situation, they're not that many. There's half of the things that we prioritize daily are not even priorities. We're just running the mill here. We're just crossing off things on our task list and feeling productive. But at the end of the day, we feel like we've accomplished nothing, because what we should really be doing is focusing on the long run, right? It's focusing on the strategy of our cases and our caseload and converting our task list into more actionable steps, reevaluating our cases every time we touch them, looking at the docket, reviewing the facts, doing the motions, and preempting the notices, and having these strategy conversations with our attorneys. And I know my listeners are probably sick of me repeating this, but this is pretty relevant to our conversation right now. So regardless if you have it or not, if you have some obstacles along the way or some hurdles, these are things that we should be doing regardless of our inefficiencies, or this is what is created in the law firm and legal industry in a nutshell. So let's talk about technology, right, which is our biggest, depending on what side of the coin you're on, enemy or ally. Is there any technology that has helped you kind of improve and grow your skills, because of this disability?
Absolutely. So at my company, we actually use AI. It's called Copilot, if that sounds familiar to your listeners or not, but pretty much, and actually at my company, I was asked for a statement regarding using AI, especially someone with having learned disability. And it helps me tremendously in the legal field and personally. It helps me with writing my emails, making them better, wording the sentences better, more professional. It helps me out a lot. And also to the research. Now, yes, we cannot rely on AI completely because I have used it before and I have to cross-check the information just to give listeners idea. But yes, I have used it for research to it's effective, I think, and I believe it's fast. You get information very fast, and just Googling it pops up quickly, but always cross-check your information because again, it cannot be as accurate. I have used it for regulatory especially, and if anyone knows what regulatory law is, I specialize in global trade, which is exports to different countries with our medical devices. So I have done research for my attorneys on sanctions, what we can or cannot send to certain sanctioned countries. The laws are always changing, especially the wars that are happening right now. That plays a huge impact in our company. And yeah, I use AI to help me out with writing skills as well as research skills. Definitely recommend for our listeners to use.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the overall census for those that are using the AI. And eventually we're all gonna, you're all gonna have to hop on the train. Sorry, guys. For those of you that are being hesitant or feel a certain way about it, we're all hopping on the train because all these new softwares, upgrades of current softwares, they're all integrating AI of some shape or form, whether it's OpenAI, also known as ChatGPT, whether it's I think it's Gemini now. They've changed their name so many times. Currently, Google has Gemini. Whether it's whatever AI that you're using, Copilot, what Samantha just said, understanding that there's certain AI for certain things, right? And creating templates, or you can use this for anything. Really, AI is very, very Are you a law firm owner juggling family life and business management? Do cash flow issues, high turnover, and untrained staff leave you feeling overwhelmed? It's time for change. Introducing Eda Rosa LLC, your go-to partner for law firm operations management and staff training. With over 2 decades of experience, we specialize in helping law firm owners create efficient, profitable, and well-trained teams. From tailored staff training programs to bilingual solutions, we help bridge the gap between attorneys and their teams, making your firm run smoothly while you focus on what matters most. At Eda Rosa LLC, we believe in transforming the legal industry from the inside out. Let's work together to build the law firm you've always dreamed of. Ready to take control of your law firm success? Visit www.edarosallc.com today. Expansive when it comes to the imagination. When you're getting stuck, it's not only used for social media content or for broadcasting or for whatever the case may be. Transcriptions, if your disability is a hearing impairment, I don't know if most of you know this, but I grew up with a hearing impairment on my left ear. I'm 70% of hearing, which is not illegal hearing yet. So I don't need a hearing aid or anything like that because I'm over the certain percentage, but I grew up with it. There is a surgery for it, but it's not 100% guarantee, and it's probably more negative than positive in my case anyway, because I practically grew out of it. At this point, it only hinders me like if I have a cold or if I'm congested or if there is just a lot of mucus and stuff. So it doesn't really hinder me like on a day-to-day basis to where I feel like I need to do the surgery. But eventually, maybe when I get older, I'm gonna have to do it. It's something that I grew up with. It's something that I figured out. Well, my parents, most like Samantha, my parents figured it out when I was in elementary school because back in the 80s and 90s, they used to sit you by alphabetical order by last name. And my last name has always started with R. My maiden name's Rodriguez. So I've always been at the back of the classroom growing up, and my grades were declining very, very fast. And my parents were like, well, I mean, is it, what's going on? Is she not understanding? Because Spanish is my first language. So at first they thought it was the language barrier, but no, I passed all the English tests just fine. So they were trying to, figure it out. And so the school decided to run a couple things, and my vision, my hearing, my heart, everything. And it turned out to be my hearing. So in my left ear, the further away things are, the harder it is for me to hear, which I know at first you're thinking, well, like, duh, yeah, that's everybody. But no, it really is. Like if there's like the door is open and I'm in a separate room, I still can't hear anything. I can hear like an echo or whatever. But something like that. And so it's really weird sometimes because then sometimes it'll heighten and I'll hear something like super clear that's really far. So yeah, my hearing, it's kind of like having a hearing aid in there and just it doing its own thing and you're not able to control it. Pretty much is what it is. But anyway, so I understand. I understand there's certain obstacles that we all go through, and receiving information can be very, very difficult when it's verbally. So a couple things to take into consideration because we're going to get to our next segment, which is kind of like takeaways for this conversation. And a couple things to take into consideration is if you are doing something like what we're doing today, use closed captions, use transcripts, use audio impairment devices. If you are doing a live event and you know that one of your attendees has a hearing impairment or a vision impairment, provide access, have a sign language person come in, have a person sitting next to the other person and print out the PowerPoints and really, really make them feel welcomed, right? That's why we have the ADA. That's why we have this huge lawsuit, which I don't know if you guys know about it. I'll send you the link. There's a huge lawsuit against the vision impaired, the US Treasury from the vision impaired with our money. So the way that the money was being printed, the vision impaired really couldn't identify whether it was $100 bill, a $1 bill, or a $5 bill, because if you feel it, they all feel the same, which is why randomly you'll see like a $100 bill with like this clear sheet. And there's certain things that they're trying to work on to see how they can really accommodate that, because the courts did find, the U.S. Appeals Court did find that that was a breach of the ADA, and it is a discrimination, which is against our Constitution. So understanding all that it's a bigger thing, right? This is on a bigger playing field. This is not only within our day-to-day life. This is an overall thing. It's always been happening. This is something that we're just highlighting here in this episode, but it's always been a thing, right? It's always been around. We've always had people with physical or unphysical impairments, disabilities, whatever you want to call it, however you want to identify with this conversation. So I just gave a few examples, real life, and what we do at our company, but give me kind of feedback as to the day-to-day work. What kind of takeaways, aside from obviously taking notes and making sure that you're understanding and receiving the information accurately and using AI? Are there any tips, maybe certain devices that you use that are helpful, maybe like a digital journal versus a physical, or vice versa, or something that reads to you? Like, what is it that someone that is struggling with this, what can they do on a day-to-day to kind of ease the process?
Yeah, so when I do take notes, I obviously have to tell the people that I'm listening to when taking notes is I actually use my iPhone and just use recording just to hear people talk as I'm writing notes. I mean, I could listen back to the notes afterwards because again, I have issues obtaining information in one sitting. So if I have a recording, I could record it, then afterwards I would listen to it and finish taking the notes, or if I missed something, I could go back to the recording and take the notes. I actually did that when I was in paralegal school. I let my professors know about my disability and they were totally fine with that. But going forward, if you ever have any issues taking notes or have any hearing issues, please talk to your manager, whoever you're working with, and see what options you could have. And for me, I personally like taking notes in a notebook. I mean, everyone's different. I just feel like I know it's just faster for me to do writing than typing personally, but I think it just depends on what works best for you. And again, I use AI as a tool to help me out with research and my writing skills. But that's really it. I mean, there's probably other tools that are going to keep coming out, and I want to learn more as well of what other tools could help me out or help anyone now in their industry, because technology is always changing. There's always something new happening, so I definitely recommend for to be everyone to be updated on what tools are out there to help you out, especially in the legal industry. Like I said, I'm always trying to attend seminars that are involved in the legal industry because there's always something new happening in the world, and it's going to keep evolving, like you said.
Yeah, it's only going to go up from here, right? I always use the example of when I used to go to the courtrooms as a trial paralegal, and I would go with my attorneys, and we would have to bring a converter for the outlets because they were still stuck in the 40s and 50s. And so, like the new technology, we weren't able to click it in because we had to bring converters. So, now fast forward, after pandemic, here we are having virtual trials. So, it's a big difference, right? And we're talking about a span of maybe a decade, maybe if that. So, I mean, for in technology terms, the legal industry has always been set back, right? Technology changes really by the year, if not less. So understanding especially AI, it grows as you use it, and it's understanding and it's improvement. It's a constant thing. It's not what you have to wait for it to update or anything like that. It's actually automatically updating. So it's more like an instant update, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what that means. But technology is not going anywhere, right? I mean, it's how we're able to record this broadcast from two different states, and understanding that, yes, of course, there's always going to be ups and downs to technology, but embracing the positives and really being aware of those negatives and how to handle and find solutions for those negatives is really what's going to set you apart, especially in your future roles, especially in the legal industry, just because we're so behind on that. Efficiency, effectiveness, legal career growth, anything that you're really looking for in the legal industry, your future is technology and AI. And it's just about time that you need to embrace that. You need to calculate that into your daily life. Start learning, start playing with it, start practicing it with it at home so that you're not damaging anything in the systems of your law firm, but really start playing with it and using it like a Google. Like if you want to Google information or something like that, and really start understanding it, because the more we understand something, the less we fear it, right? I mean, that's really what this podcast is about, is highlighting things that we may not understand. So any last words for well, not last words, but any ending words for our audience?
Just want to say thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And if anyone has any questions or comments for me, please feel free to reach out to me through LinkedIn. I would love to talk to you more. If you want to learn more about my learning disability or just any paralegal advice, please reach out to me. Thank
Of
you.
course. And all those links will be located on the description, both on the YouTube and the podcast version of this. So please, please, please click connect with us as well. We love to have conversations. That's how Samantha and I met, through LinkedIn. So we love our LinkedIn family and we love our LinkedIn software. So thank you so much for being on our Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. And that's it for today. Until justice is served, guys. Next time. Bye.